we're told that thousands of years before the events of A Song of Ice and Fire, Westeros was inhabited by two main species, the giants and the children of the forest. Occasionally one of the children was born a greenseer, who could wear the skin of any animal that runs, flies or swims, and could see through the faces of weirwood trees into the past and possibly even the future. But the coming of the First Men and the Andals, and the subsequent wars for dominance over the land that came with them, as well as the occasional war against the giants, decimated the population of the children and their mystical leaders, the Greenseers. Fast forward to the present day events. When Bran Stark reaches the cave beneath the weirwood tree, Leaf informs him that they are all that are left of the children, and that the one he calls the Three-Eyed Crow, they refer to as the last Greenseer. But is she right? Is it really true that Leaf and the other children of the forest that reside within the cave are the last of their species, and that the man once known as Brynden Rivers is the final remnant of the wise and powerful Greenseers? The answer, quite simply, is no. From the evidence that we have, it would seem that there is at least one more Greenseer that we know of, and possibly more that are suggested to exist from stories that are told, if the stories can be believed, and potentially many more Greenseers and children of the forest living in places within Westeros that are as yet unexplored by humans. So let's take a closer look at each of the other candidates in turn. The most obvious nominee is Bran himself. When handed the bowl of weirwood paste by Leaf, Bran asks, "Will this make me a Greenseer?" To which the Three-Eyed Crow replies, "Your blood makes you a Greenseer. This will help awaken your gifts and wed you to the trees." So there we have it. Brynden Rivers is not the last Greenseer. But are there any more? Possibly is the answer. The stories of the Green Men living on the Isle of Faces has been well documented, and there is no way to know for sure what resides upon the island in the centre of the Great Lake known as the God's Eye. However, there is one peculiarity that leads me to believe that there is something going on there, and that's simply the fact that nobody has been to the island. The nearby castle of Harrenhal has been a central point throughout the story, with much and more going on at both the castle itself and the surrounding lands. Yet the author has decided to steer clear of any events that might include characters visiting the island. This is hardly conclusive evidence, granted, but all theorists suspect that the Isle of Faces will have a prominent role in the endgame of the story, so it's not beyond the realms of possibility that the Green Men are real and living amongst the weirwood grove at the centre of the island. These first two options are fairly obvious to anyone who is a fan of the books. However, the next candidate is somewhere that has not had anywhere near as much coverage, and yet could potentially be home to any number of Greenseers and children of the forest, or those who sing the Song of the Earth to give them their rightful name. And that is the cave systems which exist all throughout Westeros. The Westerlands are said to have an extensive system of caves that tunnel through the hillier regions, much of which is as yet unexplored by humans. In the north, a vast system of caves and tunnels exists underground, through which the kings beyond the wall, Gendel and Gorn, led the free folk into the realm thousands of years ago. The caves run so deep and the tunnels are so vast and complex that those who fled trying to find their way back beyond the wall got lost inside, never to be seen again. Caves within the Red Mountains of Dorne, tunnels running beneath King's Landing. It's given to us over and over that beneath the surface of Westeros there is a whole other world of caves and caverns and tunnels, much of which is unused and unexplored, where any number of singers and their Greenseers could live, waiting for the right time to re-emerge. With this in mind, there's an important fact that we should take note of concerning the children of the forest. In A Dance with Dragons, Leaf tells Bran, "The gods gave us long lives but not great numbers, lest we overrun the world as deer will overrun a forest when there are no wolves to hunt them." However, this simply cannot be true. The Three-Eyed Crow explains to Bran that 1 in every 1,000 of the children of the forest are born a skin changer, and 1 in every 1,000 skin changers are born a Greenseer, So you don't have to be a mathematician to work out that for every one green seer, there had to be 1 million of the children of the forest, which would suggest that at some point in time, there were actually several million of them. It's not specified how many green seers came together to break the arm of Dawn during the war against the First Men, but even if it was only 5 or 10, that's 5 or 10 million children living in Westeros at that time, and given the length of their lifespan, there may still be, contradicting Leaf's claim that their numbers have never been great. So there are potentially millions of singers with green seers to lead them, and there is definitely room to hide them all in the caves underground. The question is, why are they there, and when will they choose to re-emerge? Let's look again at the end of Leaf's quote. "Lest we overrun the world, as deer will overrun a forest when there are no wolves to hunt them." The children went into hiding when they were being hunted by men. So when there are no men left, the children will be free to once again overrun the forest that is Westeros. All they need is for some major event to occur that will wipe out most of the humans in the realm. Something like an invasion of the others and their army of the dead, for example. Perhaps that was their plan all along. In the show, we've been told that the children made the White Walkers as a weapon to fight against the humans. However, in the books, we've been told nothing whatsoever about the origins of the others. And what the author has said about them in interviews doesn't quite add up. George says that the others were not created, but are a separate species altogether, that live in the uninhabited region to the far north, in the lands of always winter. However, we're also told that during the long night, the others came for the first time. So a species that has always lived in the frozen north of Westeros suddenly decided to come south and wage war on every living being. Why did the others not come south until after the humans arrived? And why would a species made of ice, who can only come out when the sun is down or hidden, even want to invade the south, the warm and sunny south? And also, how would a species like that even come into existence? Life evolves from life. Sentient species don't just pop up out of nowhere. They had to come from somewhere to begin with. How did they evolve in the far north, where no other life exists? It would seem that not for the first time. George is telling us whatever he needs to in order to throw us off the scent. It has been proposed that the others coming south has something to do with them needing babies to turn, as they have no reproduction method of their own. However, this would again suggest that the others only came into existence after the arrival of humans in Westeros, or else who were they turning before they had human babies provided to them? And it would still leave the question of who turned the first one, in order to carry on this reproduction process. All the evidence seems to suggest that the others came into existence after the arrival of humans, just when the children of the forest needed them to give them a chance of fighting back. So it would have made perfect sense for the children to have created the others in order to wipe out humans. If we look at the order of events in historical terms, then in a simplified form it goes like this. The children of the forest had the whole of Westeros to themselves, other than the giants. Then come the first men, and the wars begin. The children are losing the war, so they make a pact, bringing a period of peace, or rather, pretending to make peace in order to save their species from extinction. Then the others come for the first time. But somehow they get pushed back to the far north, and the wall gets built to keep them there. Then comes the Andal invasion, and Westeros is completely overtaken by humans. The Andals have the south, and the first men have the north. The children are pushed into the far north, beyond the wall, and possibly underground, beneath Westeros. Then the others come for the second time. So in conclusion, when you ignore the timelines, which are notoriously unreliable anyway, the pattern looks a lot like the children and the others are working together. The children have Westeros, humans come and take it from them, the others come and try and kill the humans, but lose, then more men come, then more others come. So even though it makes no sense for the others to come south, They keep on coming anyway, with a new attempt every time more humans arrive. There's a definite pattern to these order of events. Meanwhile, the children are hiding below the surface, waiting until their time comes again, when the humans have been wiped out. This would explain the quote from Bran whilst observing the children in the cave of the Three-Eyed Crow, when he thinks about how humans wouldn't sit about singing sad songs if they lost their dominance over the realm. Bran rightly thinks that humans would be angry and come out fighting. But those who sing the Song of the Earth are older, wiser and smarter than humans. They're not getting mad, they're planning on winning by playing the long game, waiting patiently underground for their creation, the others, to win the war for them, albeit at the second attempt.